today we'll see how a class is going to be implemented in Python, and how an object is going to be created. In the last class, just I given overview of what do you mean by class and what do you mean by object. It's some examples, right? So the same concept we'll try to implement in today's session. So class and objects class and objects implementation in Python. Okay, so how this class is going to be implemented with the various examples we'll discuss. So if you remember the last class, I given some examples for class. Class is nothing but simply it is having uh, methods and as well as some data. So now let me take some simple example for class. I'm going to consider some student application. In student application, just we'll try to implement this student as a class. So I need to write class, and the student is a class name, and you can take some data like I can take some hall ticket number. If you want, you can give some number, and similarly I can take some more information, name, and I can take some ABC. If you want, you can take marks also, marks, some 50. So these all are nothing but known as data. So student, every student in your class is having hall ticket number and name and marks. So these all are nothing but also known as properties of a class or attributes of a class. Attribute, property, data, everything is going to be comes under same meaning. Okay, in some of the textbooks, maybe they will use the word attribute. In some of the textbook, they may use the word property. In some other textbooks, they will use the word as data member or data. So don't confuse. Everything is nothing but comes under same. So it means they will be used interchangeably. Next, we can write some method also. If I want, I can write some method. I can define some method. So I want to display or I want to show details. So I want to show the details of some student. So then I already told you, whenever you are writing some function in any class, the first argument must be a self argument. So that's why I need to have this self argument, and whatever the details you need to print, you can print the details. You can print the details in your print statement. Print self dot hall ticket number and print self dot name. The last class already I discussed what do you mean by self. What is the meaning of the self? Self is nothing but it is referring to the current context. It's going to refers the current context or current class, right? So now we'll implement the same example in IDE environment so that you can understand how this is going to be uh, executed and how a class is going to be implemented in Python. You can take any example, but we'll start with some student example. Later we may go for some more examples also. Class example. So now I'll start with class student. This is the class student. So the properties, I can take a hall ticket number is first property. I can take some value for hall ticket number and some value for name, and one more information. I can take marks. I can take some number for marks, and after this I can take some method function. So define show. Okay, show is nothing but just my function name, and I can pass parameter as self. Now if you want, you can display print, you can display the details. For example, I want to display self dot hall ticket number, and similarly print self dot name, and print self dot marks. Okay, so this is a simple program. So if you see this program, I created a class, and what are these three? These three are nothing but this is a data member, and this is also data member, and this is also data member. Okay, for your understanding, I am writing comment also. This is data member, hall ticket number, and this is data member name, and this is data member marks. Data member, or we can call it as variable, or you can call it as property, you can call it as attribute. Everything is same. Don't confuse. And next, I have some method. So now if I try to execute this, I'll save this program. So class 1 dot py, class 1 dot py. So I think all of you are remembered. Every Python program must be saved with the .py extension. So I given the class 1.py because it is a class example, and this is the first class example we are doing, the class 1.py. Okay, so class 1.py, just I'll save it, and if I run this, okay, see here, we are not getting any output. Yes, we are not getting any output. So empty output we are getting, right? So no output. Why? Because already I told you in the last class, you can create a class, but how can you access? So this is nothing but a creating. I created a class. So in this class, what is there? In this class, I have some data members like hall ticket number, name, and marks, and I have some method. Is this enough? It is okay. You define the class. Okay, you define some class, student class. It is having so and so details. But how can you access? If you need to access the information of a class, you need to create an object. So that is the reason why. That is the reason why for this program we are not getting anything. Okay, so it is nothing but simply we defined a class. Okay, but defining a class is nothing but only whatever the fields you require, whatever the methods you need, you can write. But if I want to access the information of a class, if I want to access the information of a class, I need to define an object. I need to define the object. So now let me define the object here. So now I'll start here defining object or creating object. Create object. So how can I create object? Simply I can use class name. So I can call it as S. S is nothing but object. For what? For the class student. For the class student, S is the object for the class student. Okay. And I can call the method S dot show. S dot show is nothing but a method. Okay, so if you see here, so I'll write the comment also for this line. So here, what is the meaning of this S? S is object for the student class. Okay. So here I created an object. The object is S, and it is the object for the class student. And what student class is having? The student class is having some data and as well as some method also. So how can I call the method, or how can I access the information from the student class? If you want to access the information from the student class, definitely you need to create the object. So that is the reason why I created an object for the student class. Okay, so once we got the object, then you can access anything from your object only. So now let me run this program and we'll see what will happen. Okay, so let me run this program. Okay, now see here, for this program we got the output as 501, ABC and 60. So now see here, just you compare the output with the program what you are written, right? So this is the output, and the program we written is this. Left side we are having the program, right side we are having the output, right? So the program is nothing but we created a class. The class I named it as student, and in that student class already I mentioned in the last class, there is no okay rule like every class should have data member and as well as method. Some classes may have data members, some classes may have methods, some classes may have both data members and methods also. So that is all depends on your requirement. It's not like okay, every class should have this data members and as well as method. So that is depending on your requirement. You can consider both data members and methods, or only methods, or only data members. But in this example, I considered both data members and as well as method. So data members are nothing but hall ticket number, name, and marks, and method is nothing but to show. Okay, so that is creation of a class. But if you created a class, okay, if you created a class, it's not enough. So that is the reason why we need to create an object. So that's why I created an object for the class student. So what is the object here? Object is nothing but a small s. S is the object I created for the class student. Already I told you in my last class, if you remember, for example, let's say CSC is the class. If you consider CSC is the class, then each and every student in CSC will become an object. For example, first student, let's say 501 is the hall ticket number of a student in CSC. Then 501 is an object, and 502 is an object, 503 is an object. Like that, we'll have different objects for a particular class, right? So similarly here also, I created only one object. For example, if you want to create multiple objects, for example, you want to create multiple objects, then you can create multiple objects. Okay. So for example, I created one object, S. Let's say this is, I can call it as S1. S1 means student 1 details, right? And similarly, I want to create S2. S2 is equals to student. So this is, I can call it as second object, S2 dot show. So it is nothing but second object. So if you want, you can write here second object. Second object. Okay. So now I created two objects. Previously I created only one object. Now I created two objects. So S1 and S2. And these two objects are belongs to same class student. So now I can save this class 2.py. Okay, so now see here, these details are for first object and these details are for the second object, because I created two different objects for the same class. And of course, the two objects S1 and S2 are going to access the information of the class student only. Okay, so like that, you can create multiple objects for the single class. And of course, you can create multiple classes also in a single program. You can create multiple classes in a single program. You can create multiple objects for a single class. Okay, so this is the way how you are going to create a class and object. Okay, so let me go with one more example so that you can understand what this class is all about. What this class is all about. So class is nothing but simply it's going to explain the information what it is going to have. Okay, for example, I want to create another class for employee. Let me copy this program and I'll create one more class for employee. So in this class, what I'll do is, so I have a student class here, and now I am going to create one more class here. The class is nothing but I can create a class EMP. Employee class I can create. And in employee class, I'll have an employee ID. I can consider employee ID 100, salary some 20,000. Okay, and department, employee department. So CSC. Okay, I'm not going to consider any method here. So now I can create an object for this employee class. So here I can call it as E. E is equals to, I can create an object for the employee class. And I can write simply print E dot EID. Okay. So print E dot EID. So here, if you see here, these are the two classes, right? So one class is student class and second class is employee class. In student class, you have some data members, hall ticket number, name and marks, and we have one method. And in employee class, okay, in employee class, we'll have only data members. What are the data members? This employee ID, salary, and department, right? I didn't took any method for a employee class, but I created an object for employee class and I try to print E dot EID. So let's see, okay, how to run this. If you want, you can add multiple classes in a single program. So in real-time applications, whenever you are working in any industry, you need to have some 50 classes in a single program also, or sometimes more than 50 classes also. So that's where your program is going to become very large. Okay, so now see here, just to compare the program what you have written and what you got output. Just to keep aside so that you can understand what is happening in your program. Okay, so I created an object. Okay, so object is S1, that is for the class student, and I called a method S1.show. So show method, what it is doing is show method. Show method is simply displaying the details of a student. Okay, self.all ticket number, self.name, self.marks are nothing but the details of a student class. That is fine. And what about second class? In this program, I added one more class, right? What is the second class? I added employee. So in employee, what I considered only the data members, employee ID, salary, and department. I didn't have any method. If you want, you can add one more method also. That doesn't matter. If you want to add, you can add method also. But in this method, actually, I have in this second class, I have only the data members. I don't have any method, right? So, yeah, I created an object for the second class employee. The object I given is small e, and I can access, as I mentioned here. If you want to access, this is very important point. If you want to access the information from any class, okay, that is possible with the help of object only. I'll write this point here also so that you can understand. Okay, so this is nothing but a creating class. Student example. So this is creating a class. Creating a class. Okay, so creating class, we created this class. And once we created this class, then we need to create object. Creating object. How can I create object? I can create object like this. We can create a s is equals to student. This is nothing but a creating object. Okay. Next, once we created the object for the class, we can access the information. We can access the information from that class using dot operator. Okay, so we created a class. Class name is student here, and we created object. Object name is small s here. Now I have a class. Class is ready, and object is ready. Now I can have access. I can access this information using dot operator. So how can I access? Like s dot hall ticket number, s dot name, s dot marks, and similarly we can access the methods in that class also by using its object. Okay, so like s dot. These all are very, very important points. If you understand this entire program, I given the explanation, clear explanation for each and every line. What do you mean by class? What do you mean by method? What do you mean by data member? And what do you mean by accessing the information? How to create an object? If you understand this example, you can create any class in Python, because in real-time environment, everything is in the form of a class only. That is the reason why these classes and objects are very, very important. Tomorrow, if you are doing any project in Python, definitely you need to use these classes and objects only. Okay, so that is the reason why it's very important. This object-oriented programming concepts is very, very important. It's not only in Python. In other languages also, this object-oriented programming concept is very important. Okay, so that is what we did here in this example also. When I have this two classes, okay, this is one class actually, and this is other class. So here I can write creating employee class. Okay, so we created two classes here. First is nothing but we are created. Okay, so here we are creating student class. So we created student class. Okay, so here maybe the title is multiple classes. Multiple classes with the objects. So here we created two classes. One is student class, and student class I have data members and I have methods. Next, I created employee class. In employee class, again I have this data members, and okay, I didn't have method. If you want, you can write method also. And once this class created, okay, in general, if you observe in some of the textbooks, they are going to write something like a main. Don't confuse. Actually, there is no concept of main in Python. But why they need to write main? In some of the textbooks only you will find like this. What is the concept of this main means? Actually, your program will start from here. Because if you observe C language or C++ or Java, easily you can identify there is a main function. If you talk about the Java, there is a public static void main. If you talk about C language, there is a main function. In C++ also you have a main function. But where the program is going to execute in Python, because there is no any specific function like main, okay, in Python, then where it is going to execute. So that is the reason why for your understanding only I am writing, but there is no concept of main in Python. So it is only denotes that, okay, it's starting from here. When you create an object, okay, the class will be accessed. So that is the reason why, if you remember in my first program, I'll open that program, whatever we written. First program, this class 1. I'll open this. So now see here. For example, in the first program, in this program, if this is not there, this is not there, means the object creation is not there. Just only I defined the class. If I defined only the class, then we won't get any output, right? Why? Because defining class is nothing but simply you are trying to explain what are the data members, what are the methods. In that methods, what you are doing, okay, in your data members, what values you are taking. This is only simple explanation for your data members and methods only, okay, but it's not going to give anything until unless you are not going to create an object. You must create an object if you want to access something. If you want to access some information, you need to create an object. So that is the reason why when I didn't created an object for this program, I didn't get any output. Once I started creating an object, then only we got the output. Okay. So I'll show you for your understanding again. I'll show you what I'm trying to explain. I'll try to explain. For example, let's see here. Actually, now see here. In this example, I didn't created any object. Just I defined my class. My class is having so and so data members and so methods. That's it. I am not creating any object. So if I run this, what will happen? Nothing will happen. The program is going to be run successfully. It will run successfully, but you can save it as empty only class dot py only class dot py. So if I run this, the program doesn't give any error because everything is correct in the program, but it is not going to give any output also. If we see here, we are not getting any output. Why? Because just we define the class, but we are not accessing its members. If you want to access its members, it should have object. But here I didn't created any object. So that is the reason why we are not getting any output. Okay. So that point you should remember. What is the meaning of object and how it is useful. It is useful to access the information of your class without creating any object. Okay. It's not possible to access the information. That's the reason why we need to create object, right? So this is the way how you are going to create a class and create object. You can practice n number of examples on classes and objects. Okay, you can create a real-time example. You can take some library example. You can take some book example, or you can take some your class example. You can take any real-time application and try to implement that application using classes and objects. You can take any real-time application. In that application, you identify what might be the data and what might be the methods. Okay, which thing will be considered as a data and which will be considered as a method. Once you got an idea, then you can implement the same thing using classes and objects. So if you do this, then automatically you can understand. You will get more exploration on the concept of classes and objects. Okay, so already I showed you how to create multiple classes also. So don't think like for any Python program we'll have only one class. Okay, that assumption is not correct. So you may have multiple classes, maybe 2, 3, or 100 also. That's all depending on your requirement. Okay, only one class also should maybe there, or maybe 2 classes or 3 classes. That's all depends on your requirement, and that's all depends on the type of the application you are working with. Okay. So this is about the classes and objects, and we'll see the concept of other object-oriented programming concepts. Okay, like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, hiding, all these concepts in the next class. But please all of you join as per a time.